I'm assuming this is like a social media mishmash. Matchmaker influencer. It seemed like they probably do a lot of reviews on TikTok, especially. So they are describing an interaction they had with one of their clients, and they in the little TikTok describes as a common exchange due to the disconnect in people's requirements. Yes, so obviously, as we know, dating is gonna forever going. I even don't like the word dating, courting, mate selecting. Companionship is all going to be like one of the biggest topics of discussions. And I think in this day and age, we're seeing like the rise of like alternative ways of like meeting people. Obviously, if you just look at data, people are meeting online more, as opposed to like via family or school or work or whatever the case may be. But I don't know if it's separate than online, but I think also something that's relatively new, although there's always been matchmakers and matchmaking shows, is using matchmakers um, to find partners. Um, and I've heard I don't. This is also I don't want to go into a whole different tangent, but this is also a business where like I'm kind of surprised when I hear the numbers that some of these matchmakers can make. From what I understand, sometimes they make a lot of money because they work with their clientele is like people that are like rich and wealthy. They just don't necessarily have time to go through the minutia of finding somebody and all that. So they just kind of, let me hire a matchmaker. This matchmaker already has a pool of viable candidates, and do the work. So it's probably for an audience like that, from what I understand. Um, but while that all sounds good and well, it sounds like based off what we're about to hear, sometimes that process doesn't necessarily go seamlessly because of people's requirements. And yeah, I'm curious to know what y'all think of the interaction this person expresses. Let's play it.
So, if you guys have noticed, one of the biggest hurdles to matchmaking is the disconnect between someone's preferences or requirements and what they're bringing to the table. And that's why this following exchange and various variations of this exchange are pretty common. Okay,
Let's
let's
speed it
get
up just a
into it.
little.
Male, 34, lawyer, based in the US, average looking in my opinion, and 5'9". He'd like someone educated as they will be able to fit in with his family, who are all educated. He won't limit the profession, but usually that means higher education, working at a notable company, or some other achievement such as awards or getting published. He's not open to matches from abroad. He wants someone attractive and who takes care of herself. And he's not open to someone older, but up to 10 years younger is okay. So I sent him two matches. And one of the bios he actually responded to saying that my process must be a really detailed one because he's impressed with how much of a match this person is on paper. But he did decline both of them after viewing photos. He then sent me a message to clarify his request, telling me that he's looking for someone who's very attractive and that while the other things are important, they are secondary to this. And then he asked me if such a person even exists. So what actually rubs me wrong about this message is the fact that he doesn't remove any of his preferences. He just classifies them and labels them as secondary, except that really doesn't do anything when you're still asking for everything on top of top tier good looks. And here's my response to him. A woman with the level of attractiveness you are seeking, along with all the other qualities you want, absolutely exists, and there are quite a few of them in my pool. However, based on their requests, they are seeking the same qualities in a partner, including someone who is very conventionally attractive as they are, and which I would say you are not. I don't feel it's fair to present matches that only align for one party, as these women will likely decline to be matched with you based on their preferences. I would suggest revisiting your requirements to consider where you may be able to compromise. Are you open to someone overseas? Are you open to someone who is not as educated or career driven? Are you open to someone less attractive? I understand that you may not want to compromise. However, I'm sharing my perspective after seeing firsthand the requirements that these women have.
Salute to them. I just want to point out, some people might kill me over it, but notice one thing she pointed out. She directly said, "You're not conventionally attractive." I don't. I have no problem like pointing out people their attractive level. I know we're kind of in a era where people are talking about looks, maxing a bit too much, but yeah, there's nothing wrong with pointing, especially if it's a part of the conversation. Anyway, so yeah, you have this story that this person spoke about a guy that's looking for love, and he listed out his requirements. But when he got some viable options, he turned them down. Damn, because of the looks apparently. And I mean, this is one of those things that could spawn a million different conversations. I'm sure the Twitter comments went wild. It'd be super interesting to know what this guy's profile looks like. But on a base level, um I think what comes to mind is like what are people's like preferences and like uh what do you guys think of the kind of the value that people place certain things? um Obviously it's one of those things where like we don't want to get too much into some of the conversation about intersexual dynamics, but obviously, as we know, men are going to have a higher vested interest in looks and beauty, and then females are going to typically look more for like um, someone that can take care, provide, protect, things of that nature, which is all good and standard, and we have no problem with that. Um, I guess it just comes. I guess like kind of like this post is like talking about like one y'all think people are a bit delusional where they kind of put these things, and to be honest, one word that kind of resonates with what this one we'll talk about, like, do you guys think people should be more willing to compromise for what they're looking for in relationships in order to find like actually sustainable relationship? Because I think that's one of the back and forth people have a lot about relationships as well. Like some people will be like, I'm not compromising on anything. Like I should be able to get what I'm looking for. And I think there's a lot of value in that because if you live a life in which you kind of go and think I'm going to compromise, then you might fall short in a lot of regards. But then again, is that really a viable pathway when we're talking about other people in relationships and love, whatever you want to assign to that? Um, yeah, what do y'all think? We'll start with you, Wes. What do you make of this, and what do you kind of think of all that in regards to what this matchmaker we're talking about?
I think that this is, I mean, obviously it's a trend or uh yeah, something that you see a lot. Especially recently, I think people are impractical, and yes, compromise needs to be had. I don't actually, well, I was gonna say I don't actually know why that's the case, that is so prevalent, but I think it's just the the age of social media and Instagram and
What's prevalent?
people why people are so why people's image of what they want is so disparate from what they can actually get.
Oh yeah, that's like 100% social
I
media
guess
in the internet in
it's
general. We have more
yeah,
access
yeah, it
to
has to
what
be.
exists in the world.
But but I think people, you know what? I think yes, people need to compromise and all this, but I think they need some good hard data as well. And that's what somebody like Kevin Samuels did pretty well,
Here we go.
which was to just show no, no, we won't get into that. But the fact that he would pull out certain statistics about, okay, if you want somebody who's over 6 feet, what percentage of men are over 6 feet in the US, whatever, or whatever you are, and you see that these percentages are very low, so your actual chances of finding the person you want with all the criteria put together are so slim that it's kind of ridiculous for you to have that as a criteria, especially when you yourself are over a certain age or under a certain attractiveness level. Although at the same time, statistics didn't necessarily help some of those people because they were still kind of delusional.
You know what's crazy?
But
I was just about to ask. Obviously, in general, with things that are rare, people aren't going to come by them. So, like you said, the person that wants the guy that's 6 feet, well, since there's kind of less of that, then people aren't going to get it. I wonder what's the data on people that upon hearing the data and really consuming it, and maybe it took a little time, but after they digest it and believe it, how many people change the requirements?
I mean, I think anybody who's successful in finding a partner at that point has to change the requirement. Like, all right, or you're the 0.001% chance that you found the person, whatever. Like, maybe, but in general, I think everybody has to get to a point where either they realize, oh, I'm never gonna find anybody, or they realize I'm gonna change my criteria. Like, it just has to happen. And if not, or I think the thing that you want is for that to happen at a more reasonable time by maybe making information like this more public, maybe talking about it more. I don't know, but like it is it is jarring to see that so many people have these standards that just literally don't make mathematical sense, and they should stop thinking like children, to be honest, in a fairy book kind of way or a fairy tale kind of way, and thinking that even though the percentages are slim to none, I'm going to be the one that finds that person. Like, it's just so unrealistic. But
No, I
yeah,
agree. I tend to agree, and you got to show people this information from when they're young, to be honest, because
yeah, yeah.
not to get not to be in any way age shaming or ageist, but if you're pushing 40 and you're just finding out some of these things and you're on a live talking to a Kevin Samuels or Kevin Samuels type, or you're on a Pop the Balloon show and you're realizing why your balloon's getting popped, it looks a little sad when you're a little older. So it'd be really good to learn some of this when you're younger.
And sometimes you
Uh,
just gotta let people talk. Like on these shows, like sometimes like Kendra or whoever it is, they just let the people say what they want. They
oh yeah,
look
Kendra,
at the
yeah,
camera
she
and
actually does. You know what's
and you
crazy?
understand.
She
Uh,
actually really does a great job at the the matchmaking type of thing. Not to mention them. I guess just for the sake, what's an example of something you think both sexes should be willing to? It kind of sucks, but compromise or concede on when finding a partner.
that's. I mean, anything that's not able to be controlled as easily, you should be a little bit more flexible with, like
Well,
height,
in
like
2026, in 2026,
looks.
you can change that.
True, but these are complicated things to change. And I mean, I guess if there's people who are 100% okay with all kind of surgical procedures and stuff like this, but things like this, I think you should be more flexible on. Anything that, like I said, is generally a part
Okay, so
of
you're
the
saying
person.
women should come down in height a bit. And what do you think? What do you say for guys?
I mean, I think it's looks. I mean, first of all, I think, yeah, I would just say, yeah, I have to say looks because men usually hold looks as their highest criteria, or these type of men that we're
That's a
talking
hard
about
sell
who are
for a lot of guys,
struggling.
you know.
Yeah, no, which makes sense, but also no. I feel like in the past people were less concerned about like educational attainment and accomplishments in the workplace. If you're too big on that as a guy, I feel like that's a bit strange.
Facts.
So men and game.
We were talking about that since a while ago. Yeah,
Yeah,
women's
yeah, yeah.
education. Anyway, what about you, Ghost? What do you think of this conversation about like the quote unquote delusions of people? Do you think people's preferences are a little out of whack with where they should be? And what do you think are examples of some things that guys and girls should maybe come down on?
Um, yeah, I think in general, everyone, men and women, are somewhat delusional in their standards. And I also don't think there's not anything wrong with that initially. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with having high standards, maybe than you statistically and objectively deserve or warrant. But, like, if you do,
Doesn't that create a space where you're kind of skewed and like your results though?
what do you mean? Like, as far as having difficulty finding the person that meets those
Yeah, and
requirements you need?
obtaining.
Well, yeah, I think again, having a high bar, there's nothing wrong with that. But if, like you said, if you're not finding anyone that meets that high of a bar, then you need to revisit what your standards are. Like, I look at it, well, it's not a perfect one to one, but like if you're haggling with somebody and you drastically, or you're trying to sell, let's say you're trying to sell something and you drastically overprice it, there's nothing wrong with overpricing it, because if someone happens to like want to pay that, then that's great. And this is not the best equivalency to equate marriage to buying something, but just kind of just very surface level. But if no one's buying it, then you realize, yeah, I got to lower my asking price here. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Again, with a little self delusion and a little shooting high. But if again you're not finding anyone that meets those standards, and you need to look at why that is. Like, maybe you ain't look as good as you really think, or you have some flaws that you're not really willing to acknowledge, but they're definitely there. I think that's what you have to do, some self reflection. I think it's a tough thing for everyone to do in general, just because most people have probably a bit inflated opinion of themselves, which again, there's nothing wrong with that. Um, but you can't you can't be like you can't be looking for a supermodel who's a millionaire and also will take care of everything around the house for you and does this and that, and then you're up and coming and trying to start a business, but it's not taking off well and you're out of
Jesus,
shape and stuff like
broke boy.
this. So,
I gotta step away real quick, but I'll be back in a few.
Yep, that's
It should
good.
be quick. All right.
You're good. Go keep rolling.
but yeah, that's kind of my general take on this. And unfortunately, a lot of people have the first part down pat when they'll set their standards, but the second part where they need to actually adjust those standards to a realistic place. That's where they have the trouble with, and that's where what she's talking about sounds like she's very honest with her clients on some of the things that they think that they possess, but they don't actually have. I think that's very important to have an objective person to not just tell you, "Oh no, you're a 10 and someone's just everyone else is delusional and they don't know what they're missing." Not to say that you should have someone in your corner that's hating on you, but I think it is important to have like someone that can objectively say like, no, you're not the prime of a prospect because of X, Y, and Z, which is where not to get on the Kevin Samuels stand train, but I mean that is something that he did to well-known effect. And then as far as something that I think men and women should be more willing to compromise on when looking for a relationship, I'd say is like not being dead set on finding someone who's a finished product and that
Mm.
being willing to grow with a person as they change or try to improve themselves because yeah, someone could be overweight for example, but they're trying to exercise more and get in better shape. It's just not the results aren't showing themselves. Or someone is broke, but they're going to school or something, and they graduate. They have a career path lined up for them, even if it's not tangible yet. I think it's just being more willing to acknowledge that people that are working towards something haven't necessarily achieved it, but it's the intent behind it that's really more important,
Yeah,
or
that makes
just
a
as
lot.
important as the result itself.
That makes a lot of sense. And it's something I talked about before. The only thing is, I don't know if some people like to hear it, but for that reason, that's why I am more recommending of people try to find their partner in life earlier on, because when we're kind of younger, we're more willing to engage with people that aren't that finished product, opposed to the older we get. You need. I'm not saying you're looking for a finished product, but you're looking. You're like your patience is it ran a little thinner. So yeah. That makes sense. And then what about you, Ace? What do you think of this the conversations about people's standards? You think people are a bit too you think people are a bit too delusional? You think people should shoot as high as they can? And what do you think is an example of something that both parties should come down on a bit, or willing to come down on a bit?
Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I disagree with the majority of what Ghost or West said, if anything at all. Um, I think people clearly are too delusional based on what this matchmaker has said, based on the examples we've already discussed.
What do you
My
mean? That guy just wanted a big, beautiful, educated. What else did they say? Good family orientation. Sound like they got a little money.
yeah, yeah, and up to 10 years younger, no older. like, um, yeah, delusional. Pop the balloon is my primary example of seeing just the 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 delusion. It's like the perfect candidate except something dumb, like the clothes look, they don't like the clothes that they're wearing on that particular day for that particular show. It's like just silly. Um, so yeah, definitely delusion. I agree about the source being just the world we live in now, the internet, and how that affects people's ideas of like what they can get based on what they see, which is which is a sliver, or maybe not well, yeah, like the prime examples of the people highly attractive, and with a you know good career or whatever. Like you're seeing a sliver of the actual population and thinking that's the whole, and that's your dating pool. um and it's really not the case. um and yeah, as far as things people can come down on, the first thing, I mean, immediately after you said that, my thoughts were height with women and looks with dudes, like maybe looks and weight.
I'm
But
telling you, man, that looks is a hard sell. It's you can't convince a guy to want a mid. Sorry, mid is not bad. Lower than mid woman.
I mean,
Well,
I
you just say
guess in a
that.
way, but
I don't know.
I, I don't. It's just like what what do you really want? Like, do you want a partner or
You want a
somebody that you
baddie?
can grow with? Like, then you don't really want a partner. Like,
What
it's
do you
kind of it's
mean?
to me, it kind of gets to like it's one or the other type thing. Like, if you're
You
actually
can't have
after
a partner that's a baddie.
no, if that's one of your main goals, then your 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 goal is not really to have a wife. Like,
What?
if you really want
No,
a
no.
wife,
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, first of
No,
all,
no.
we've all guys have always
That's
wanted women that are fair. Let's be clear. Let's be
I
1,000% clear.
know
no, but
I
the problem is with the quote unquote baddie is that in a lot of cases, the reason that they look like that is because that's all they focus their time and energy on, which means that they're not usually well rounded in terms of everything else. So I think you're saying in terms of the exchange, a lot of
Are
the
we
thing,
saying that
especially on the
women's
internet, those
power level
people
needs to be
are not
lower so they can be
necessarily.
a dutiful wife? What are we talking about?
No, this is a
No, 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 no.
percentage thing. This is a percentage
The
thing.
exactly the selection of people that you see online that look like that are most likely spending their time and energy to look like that and not on much else. Not to say that they're not intelligent, but they're not necessarily intelligent, or they're not going to necessarily have everything. So when you look at a person who falls into that category, the chances are the percentages would show that it's more
Let's
likely
get
that
that
they're
look off
I,
your face. Like you're your face.
not to say that they can't.
it's
There's
just
a
like
certain
I'm gauging how much I want to feed into this because I couldn't force it and say that y'all are saying that uglier women are more likely to be well rounded, and that
no.
just sounds insanity.
I
Like,
think
it
I
sounds
think
crazy.
Let's think of
the
it.
best
Let's
way
think
to
of
say
it from
this.
the male perspective. Let's look at the male side, because we've seen. I'm sure we've all seen the chart where like you got intelligence and you got what is it like
Attractiveness or something. Or
yeah,
man, for man or woman? I thought you were talking about
it's for
stuff.
men, for men. It's like
Okay, good.
there's
No
a
woman
the,
have the
there's
hot cream.
it's a graph where one side is intelligence and
Oh, I
I
think
forget what the
it's
other side.
testosterone and IQ. I think
Yes,
it's
yes,
testosterone and
exactly.
IQ.
And like
Mm,
the higher your testosterone level, the lower your IQ versus it's just like it's a diagonal line where as you go up on the intelligence level, your testosterone level is
Yeah,
lower or
that's
something like that.
because obviously guys that
drops.
are lower IQ tend to be in like laborious blue collar or just straight up like not very intensively mental work.
Or if you, I mean, no, this is a good point. The dudes that spend all their time in the gym or whatever that don't actually do
Exactly.
anything
That's
else,
what they're spending their time
it's
on.
the equivalent. Yeah,
It's not
yeah.
a necessarily a judgment. It's just that you got X amount of
Okay.
time in the day. So it's the same application that we're saying for women. Where like
It
you
was a
got X
stretch, but
amount of time in the
y'all
day.
pulled it back.
So yeah, that's all I'm saying. So now when we pull it back to the conversation, like yes, I think if that's one of your primary concerns is looks, then you're really not focused on what you should be focused on in terms of if you want a wife, somebody that's gonna be with you for the long haul. Your primary goal should not be looks. It should be a partner or one that you truly connect with and that you can and that has the qualities of like if you want children has the qualities of a mother. You can see her having those nurturing qualities, whether it's with other children or nieces, nephews, things like this. Somebody that can, it doesn't even have to be like a homemaker per se. It can still be I mean most situations now people gotta be a two job or two income household, but still like somebody that has the qualities of being able to be a nurse, being able to be a wife, being able to be a support, like all of those things are going to drop looks way down on your
They
priority.
don't
Not to
have
say
to,
you
just to be
don't have
clear,
to.
but they tend to maybe.
On your priority list,
Yeah,
the looks should
exactly.
go down versus those other things.
Yes, not to say it's
Not
not
to
going to
say that they
influence it
can't
at all,
have.
but yeah, but like come on. Like if you find somebody that meets all of those criteria and like everything and the looks aren't really there for you,
Not really there.
to
Aren't
me,
the quote unquote 10 that you have in your mind? I feel like
yes.
men also need to recondition their mind because some of these dudes, the way what they're looking for is ridiculous. Like it's not even.
I mean,
It's not even.
beauty standards and conventional like attractive standards have been relatively consistent.
All right, I'm gonna speak frankly. It's not real. Like
What's not real?
in terms of it's surgery face. Like there's so many women whose faces like they get the surgery and they look like the same woman. Like it's like there's a trend, and so
Most
fine,
people,
it's possible.
most people haven't received surgery though.
No, I'm not to say that, but I'm saying what social media portrays and the people on TV and whatever on all these reality shows and stuff like this, most of them have, and that kind of twists the perception too, where now people are saying that's a 10, or I mean, I guess there are people that say that's a 10. And if that's the case, then you're already filtering down into a box of people who've done work to look like what they want to look like when what they want to look like is just every other social media influencer.
I will say,
girl.
obviously, with social media, if we're talking about social media specifically, obviously we know there's just abundance of like filtering and not really getting
Yeah, or even filters.
offensive
Exactly.
version of a person. So there's some truth in that. I wouldn't say like there's a lot of surgery going around per se.
I'm talking reality
No,
TV,
Wes
and not to
Wes
disparage
isn't
what I'm
saying
what
it's
the
happening in
surgery
real
itself.
life. It's altering
Yeah, but
people's
guys
perception
aren't
of
watching
what
reality
is
TV
it.
though.
Well, guys are looking at
What?
actors and actresses though.
Yeah.
Guys looking at IG baddies.
You think there's no surgery going on there?
It's not most of it. Most people can't.
I don't know. I don't know.
Most people
I don't
either
know about
afford
that.
or just will have gone through surgery. I'm just saying.
Well,
I don't
I
know
think
about that.
what you're saying is valid, Wes, but at the same time, we can talk about beauty standards changing, being set by social media and TV and all this, but like on a base human level, you can walk outside and you can show someone that has had no human contact ever and has never picked up a phone in their lives from some remote Amazon jungle, and you show them a good looking woman and they'll know who's good looking versus who.
I don't know that that's true.
No.
I don't.
Yeah, I don't know if that's
That's
true.
my
No,
point.
first,
I don't know.
Again,
I don't know. It's
no,
true
no,
that
you
that-
have- it's not
that-
true.
You have
First of
literal
all, no.
you have literal
that are like
babies that
biologically
Nah,
attractive.
It's
that is
not
no,
true.
that's you
It's
have
not
literal
true.
babies that can know children and
It's
babies
not
that can know if
true.
someone's good looking.
Nah.
It's not true.
Nah.
It's not
It
true.
is.
First of
It
all, I have
is.
an
based
example.
on the culture that you are
I have
raised in.
I have an
100%.
immediate example. I have an
Marginally,
Wes,
immediate.
please,
But
Wes,
we're
please.
talking about the consensus of what a male will find attractive.
I have
It's
an immediate
consistent across the
example.
globe.
The in a lot of African countries, what men search for in terms of weight range is definitely different from the States. 100%. Like I can say that with 100% confidence.
Yes.
And
That's
especially
true.
West
Arguably
African,
example
like
of the
depending on what
culture in
country.
certain countries, but we're talking about
And it's
globally.
no.
Um,
What do you mean globally? That's a specific
Why is there a
talking point.
global
Wait,
standard? It's because of the internet. It's
Exactly.
because of the
no.
standardization that has
No,
happened
you guys.
over.
I think you guys are like kind of missing. I get what you're saying. There is different substandards, but at the end of the day, like on a basic biological human level, when we look at attractiveness, it's a lot of the time based on your ability to rear a child and have good offspring. Like just biologically, like women will like. That's why kind of like why women like big muscles. Why men like women with wide hips and all that. Like biologically, and
Yeah.
extrapolating that out to looks, you can, like I said, you guys are pushing back and saying that was wrong, but you can show someone from any era of history. Well, I don't want to say that because if we're
Do
talking
you
like
when you say this,
These aren't even
my
consistent
brain
across
immediately
time.
disagrees.
They're not
how
even
How does it
consistent
I
across
disagree?
time.
It's
but like
not even
In the
consistent
U.S.
across
okay,
ethnicities. Like, what are we
okay,
talking
No,
about?
Ace, you say no. Ace, you say you
exactly.
Thing is,
disagree.
example,
How
the,
is
the
there?
examples
If
that you
that's the
bring up
case,
are the outliers. By and
Outlier?
large, the huh?
We're
By
talking
and
about
large,
millions of
if by and
people.
large
but yes,
the attractive qualities are that a guy average guy going to be attractive are they're consistent.
okay, so if you guys are saying there's millions of people and the beauty standards are so varying and so changing, why are there these women and men that are looked at globally by different
Because we
men
are in
and
a
No,
women?
look.
global
All right.
society. There has been a
Exactly.
No, no,
like a there's been a ubiquity in terms of
But that's why
that
it's
is
consistent
not
attracting
across
standards
true.
time because
because of
even back in the day, the
I mean, let me
archetype of
ask
an
a question.
attractive
Let
woman
me
was
ask a
consistent.
question.
No,
Let
I
me
don't
ask a
think that's
question.
true.
no,
That's
that
not even
is true.
What
true.
Okay,
era was
okay.
what era was it not? I
Literally
to
in
be
the
frank,
Bible, you
the
have
hourglass.
examples of women in that are said to be fair and said to be good looking and attractive. In the Bible,
In their
like in
culture,
the no,
we don't even
like
know
in the
what they look
culture.
like. What are
Bro,
you
But that's
so
the
saying?
thing.
you're
That's the
saying
thing.
because the Bible says it that every culture would agree that this woman from the Israelite, this Israelite woman
I'm
was
not
deemed
saying because the
attractive.
Bible said it. I'm saying it's stated as somewhat of
Yes,
an
because the
objective
people who were
fact.
going to look at her in that time and in that culture would have agreed.
That's not, you're saying in
That
that time and in that culture. It's not
Yes.
stated like that. It's not stated she was a 10 to, well, I'd be kind of
so she was a 10
10 to
for
the
It
all
doesn't
Israelites
time,
need
with
to
and
be
the
all
stated.
ultimation.
people she would have
It
been
doesn't need to
considered
be
good.
Okay,
stated.
okay.
I'm
I
just
have
stuck on
another.
All right.
I have another
why
example.
y'all
Outside of the
think I still don't
Bible,
understand why y'all
Helen
think it
of
would change
Troy.
I have.
and what suggests that
That's the thing. Yes,
what
Helen
would
of
be
Troy. That's a good
drastic.
example.
Most people are saying that the actual reconstruction, she wasn't even that nice. Like, bro, what are you
Okay, so
talking
okay,
about?
I have another example. Again, looking biblically, you have women of other nations that have never been seen by the Israelites before when they went into, like, for example, land of Canaan, and some of these women were looked at as attractive in so much that you had Israelite men going and sleeping with them because they viewed them as attractive and good looking. If the beauty standards were so different, then why were these women considered attractive? If there was no ubiquitous global beauty standard, why are you
Because
looking at women from completely separate cultures that you've never seen before and still
they,
saying that they're attractive, and it's considered attractive between multiple different variations of cultures?
this is not a good argument.
How is it
And
not?
I mean,
You can't
I think
rebut
it
it.
just
because
I think it just boils down to I'm
no.
surprised we
First of
even
all,
got I'm surprised
we
I'm
don't
kind of
know.
shocked we even
We
got here. I think
don't.
it just
First
boils
of
down to
all,
I don't understand why you guys think that there was a point in time where there was a drastic difference in what the perception of an attractive woman would be.
look at medieval paintings. Like, first of all, you said that Ghost. You said that, but we don't even know the selection of women that they were going after or
When you look
putting
at
on. They
when
were
you look
ranking
at
them
medieval
within the
paintings,
culture that they were
the
in.
body type is still going to be relatively same. Obviously, their face may not have been most attractive to us, maybe, but it's crazy. A lot of those women would still be conventionally attractive today.
It's
Yeah,
not the body type was not the same. You got pudgy looking, like not even just like
The body type
wide
was
hips and
1000% the same.
No, they were literally pudgy. Like it's not the
Hold
same.
on.
And
You're talking
You
about
don't
pudgy.
recognize
What?
that?
Pudgy? I say
No, no, no.
I don't want to get into like bring up
No.
examples, but like, what are we talking about? Like, maybe we have to bring up something because what are we talking about pudgy?
oh my
All
No,
you have to do.
no,
let me
no,
let
no
me
one's saying that.
All
Like,
you
Yeah,
have
I'm
to
gonna need
do.
no
an
one's saying
example.
that men like a paper thin woman, but they won't be like they won't look like the woman that Wes was just
Dude,
talking about.
hold
They won't
on.
be on
Hold on.
they won't
Hold
be on the
on.
opposite end of the spectrum.
Look. Do you agree with the standards that they have for models in the US? Do you feel like that represents the most attractive women? Also, are you
But
aware that that standard has changed over time?
no,
If
I think that's
modeling, hold
To the
on,
second
if
to the second
modeling is
question,
not a
yes.
representation, if modeling is not a representation of what a culture, a country values in terms of, especially women, what can be,
it's
and if
it's
that has
not. It's
changed
not.
drastically, fairly drastically,
It's
if that has
not.
changed, it's
Purely
not.
attractive. No. A lot of times modeling is not based off of just what's good looking or attractive. It's based off a lot of factors like what do the models look good modeling clothing? Do they have an exotic look about them, like the high cheekbones and all that jawline? That does not always equate a 1-to-1 in what a culture views as being attractive or a 10 out of 10. Absolutely not.
Okay,
I'm
I
kind of
would
blown away
disagree.
how this went down this pathway.
I don't
Again,
I
like
would
remember how we
disagree,
got here
and
anymore.
like I
you
I
have you have a fair point.
What was
I'm
the
not.
topic
In
again?
that,
I'm not.
in
Just to
that,
be clear, I'm not saying that these things haven't changed over time, and there are some marginal changes. Like obviously, like even kind of the way people have started to dress and like the type of makeups that have been applied and things that they've put more emphasis on. Like that, there's been some marginal change, but by and large, over time, over throughout history, there's just nothing that suggests it has changed. It's always been relatively nice figure. Not too much blemishes like long hair, like these things, just
I mean,
nothing
I don't
suggests.
even understand how you say that when even in the 90s, like the 90s compared today, a skinny, like super skinny woman, no waist, like women back then, if you said they had like a large waist or whatever, it was
it was an
they
insult.
deemed themselves as ugly. Like I mean that the figure they would deem that as ugly versus now that's exactly what people are interested in. I think just that
It
small
was it was
example
still it
shows
was
that the
it was
ideals
still
have changed.
it was still hourglass, and
I
I
think
wouldn't
I don't.
and I
I
wouldn't
wouldn't
deem and I
even
wouldn't
say it
deem
was
like the
our.
I wouldn't deem the
It was. They called it heroin chic. Like it was no figure.
it was still
I do think
by
there's
and
a
large
difference
the what's gonna
between
an hourglass shaped woman was gonna be attractive whether they're like thinner or a bit wider. That's
All right, but
I would see that
the
as
point is not
marginal.
even the point. Just to say, you didn't say it, but like the point is not what people accept or what people put themselves with or what people end up choosing. The point is the fact that there is an image that is portrayed in public that even if it is a model, okay, you can say it's not really to show, or they're not really being shown as the highest standard. But if they're modeling the clothes and the people are looking at that in order to buy the clothes, in order to have some type of aspiration to spend money on these things, and you see this in the ads and everything. There's an allure to it. It creates and it can influence the culture. And even if okay, we can because I can say okay, yeah, you're right because the models necessarily aren't what's on Instagram. But the fact of the matter is there is an Instagram, there is modeling, there are these things that have an influence on what people perceive as attractive during an era.
you're
And so the
correct.
fact
Those things are all influential. But at the end of the day, what I'm saying and what I think is the most important thing here is that if a man or woman sees a baddie, they're going to know that they're bad. They're going to know that they're attractive. Like
but
there's they'll have a
the
biological reaction
reason
regardless of the cultural
okay,
standard.
fine,
You
but the
have people
reason
being attracted to friggin' Avatar, the blue Avatar people from Avatar, and thinking that they're attractive, and that's not based off of any beauty standards. It's just there's certain characteristics that humans biologically
okay,
like to
but
look at.
the reason that we even went down this tangent is because I said that there are people being influenced to a certain standard of beauty that is not realistic And I'm just saying that that is possible, that people are consuming so much content and looking at so much content of people that aren't even realistic or aren't, have been fabricated and or Photoshop, filtered, whatever. And they then take that to say, I don't want anything less than that. And I'm saying that is detrimental because you're not necessarily going to find that, especially if it's filtered to the point where it never even existed. It never could have existed.
Yes, we agree with
That is going to hurt your.
Yes, that's
your
all
perception.
valid. If that's the way you present
That's
it
why
before,
that's
then I don't
where
see
I
there
was
how to be
going
an
with my
argument.
statement.
I feel like you said it
Okay,
different
don't make
the
it
first
seem
time.
like you always had the point that we all were on the same page.
No,
Yeah,
that's
I
why
think
we went on the
obviously
tangent.
I
we
think
went
you
down-
said it
obviously
different
we
the
went down
first
this
time
point.
because I would have had no arguments if that's how you phrased it initially.
I'm not even saying you didn't say. I'm just trying to. There were other things in the conversation that led to.
It's on
us getting
tape,
to
so-
where we
Yeah,
are.
I can't remember how we
Judge
got
for
here.
himself.
To be honest, it was kind of closer to what Ace was talking about, but that's neither here nor there. Dang, we're like, I'm about to be 4-4 for things that I just have this weird contention that I didn't really plan on. But the moral of the story is, yes, in order to achieve a sustainable relationship in which you're actually compatible with the person, you need to make sure your standards are not based in delusion, not based in what the internet is deeming as the standard that we need to obtain or strive to. It really does boil down to a decent level of self-reflection of like what makes sense for your lifestyle, what makes sense for your level to be for attraction. And it kind of sucks because I think we didn't loosely mention it. Like there is value in like shooting high, but understanding that reality needs to also exist in your requirements or the standards in general.
Yeah, that was one thing I missed that Ghost said it and I agree with completely. You can have the super high standard as long as you know that you just may never achieve it, and if you're okay with that, you're good. Like if you're okay,
And that kind of
with
leads into my the things I think that men and women gotta concede on a bit. For maybe I'm kind of slipping. For women, actually no. For men, these kind of nuance. Maybe I'm just tweaking. I think one thing that you're gonna have to come to terms with is that, and this is kind of leading to a whole different tangent. So I don't keep it super concise. But your significant other, if they're a woman, they might fall into the world of gossip. Like I know it's kind of sucky, but they're I don't know. I've been thinking about the concept of gossipers lately, and they might gossip a bit. And for women, it kind of sucks. It's one of the other. I feel more inclined to bring it up because we're saying that men gotta come down. Y'all are saying that men gotta come down on looks. Women gotta come down on a guy's earning, like what like the money a guy's gonna bring in. I think specifically for this day and age, where like it seems like it's just continually delving into a world in which like people are just getting by. So if you bump into a guy that can take care of those baseline requirements of like shelter, food, make sure you have a little money in the bank, maybe an outing or a trip here and there, but obviously nothing too extravagant. I think that's where you gotta.
Oh yeah.
You gotta be realistic on like what you actually need to. It really does suck saying what you need to survive instead of like what you need to have like the most glamorous lifestyle.
Yeah, the
Sorry,
expectation,
real.
luxury goods, and
I was going to say real quick on the first point of the gossip. I think I might have missed it. Could you just say that again? You were saying that you think men should like be more willing to get women that do gossip.
Yeah.
Huh. Interesting. Okay.
Obviously, within everything within moderation. Because if obviously they're spending all day doing that, then obviously that gotta get cut. But anyway, yeah, obviously it's a continuing conversation. So this won't be the last time we bump into a conversation about dating or I guess beauty standards. Interesting. But if there's nothing else for this particular moment, we can move on.